Did you kill Nolan?
Of course not.
Did you have anything to do with Nolan's death?
Of course not. And absolutely not.
They say that you guys deleted stuff out of his phone. Did you delete anything out of Nolan's phone?
No, of course not.
The mom acts like, or at least she portrayed on television, and the rumors are that you weren't really good friends with Nolan. Is that true or not?
Absolutely not. I hung out with Nolan probably like 3 days a week. I mean, seriously, at least. Some days my friends want to hang out every single day, and Nolan was always there. So,
And obviously, people may see this and know the facts later
right.
that you weren't able to go to the funeral or the memorial service.
Right.
Why didn't you go? What was that?
Well, I mean, with everything going on social media right now, with people saying the crazy things that they're saying, I would never want to take the attention off of Nolan and his family. They don't deserve that. And, you know, for own personal reasons, I mean, I've gotten thousands of death threats. My family's got thousands of death threats. And, you know, for my own safety, I'm not going to put my own health and safety at risk. You know, it breaks my heart that I can't go, and it hurt me more than anything because obviously I want to say my last goodbyes to one of my best friends. But I mean, if I'm getting thousands of death threats with people saying they're going to kill me and do crazy things to my family and I couldn't bring myself to go because, you know, I got to put my own safety first. And even if that means, you know, missing my friend's funeral, I mean, it's horrible. And I wish I could have been there.
3 weeks. That's how long it's been since Nolan Wells' friends pulled away from Horn Island without him. And after 2 autopsies, a funeral, an FBI inquiry, and a governor publicly blaming a civil rights attorney for death threats, nobody, not the family, not investigators, not us, actually knows how he died. Not won't say. Doesn't know. That's the honest starting point for everything that follows. Before we get into it, I need something from you. Every part of this case that's dragged on for 3 weeks is 3 more weeks of family has spent without an answer. If that matters to you, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and like this video before we continue. It genuinely helps put pressure where it belongs on getting this family real answers instead of more waiting. Let's rebuild the whole picture, because it's grown a lot since we first covered this. On July 4th, Nolan, 18, went to Horn Island with a group of friends. He was last seen around 3 in the afternoon. His friends say he chose to stay behind to spend time with a young woman, later identified as Katie McCormick, planning to catch a later ride. At 4:31, GPS data confirms the boat left without him. A 911 call from that boat, made around same time, confirms a real mechanical failure, a failed bilge pump taking on water. 2 days later, on July 6th, his body was found in the water by a National Park Service ranger. The coroner found no immediately obvious signs of trauma, but ordered a full autopsy given the circumstances. That's the skeleton everyone agrees on. Everything else, the deleted phone messages, the delayed set of car keys, the conflicting accounts of that final conversation, the mismatched clothing description, has been layered on top of that skeleton by a family that stopped trusting the official story early and never got reason to trust it again. On July 22nd, the independent autopsy the family commissioned, funded partly by Colin Kaepernick and conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, came back with the only honest answer forensic science had to offer at that point. Cause and manner of death undetermined, pending further investigation. Inside that finding sat one specific, genuinely unresolved detail, a patch of red discoloration on the back of Nolan's skull that Mitchell could not explain. The state's own autopsy still hasn't been released. 3 weeks in, this case still doesn't have a cause of death. Now here's where the story took a turn that hasn't made it into any of our scripts yet, because it happened in just the last 2 days, and it's arguably become as significant as the forensic questions themselves. The FBI is now involved in this case, but not in the way a lot of headlines made it sound. They haven't taken over the death investigation. Jackson County Sheriff's Office remains firmly in the lead there. What the FBI is actually doing is investigating threats. Threats made against public officials, against potential witnesses, against the friends who were on that boat, and against Nolan's own family. Mississippi's Department of Public Safety Commissioner said those threats are being taken very seriously and attributed much of the hostility to false information that's been spreading online. Judge Ashley Cole, stepmother to one of the boys on that trip, says her family has received waves of death threats. Nolan's friend Traciston Shepard says he and others have too. "We did no wrong here," he said, "and we don't understand how we're getting so much hate behind it." And then, on Friday, this case collided head-on with state politics. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves released a statement saying Ben Crump and Al Sharpton are, in his words, to blame for the threats, accusing them of stoking division for personal gain. He didn't offer evidence directly connecting either man's public statements to any specific threat made. Neither Crump nor Sharpton had responded publicly by the time this was reported. Meanwhile, the Jackson County District Attorney, Angel Myers McElrath, posted her own statement the same week, asking the public for patience, insisting the case is being handled with the same care given to every death investigation, and confirming it will still go before a grand jury once the sheriff's office wraps its work. That came right after the NAACP's national president publicly accused investigators of being derelict in their duties, a claim local Mississippi officials pushed back on hard, calling it completely unfair to a sheriff's department they say has been working the case properly. So somewhere in the last week, this stopped being purely a missing forensic answer and became a genuine political fight. Governor against civil rights attorneys, NAACP against local law enforcement, playing out in public statements while the actual cause of death still sits unresolved underneath all of it. So here's the part where we try to be honest with you and honest with ourselves about what all of this actually adds up to, because that's harder than picking a side, and it's the only responsible thing we can offer you. Look at what genuinely supports the accidental drowning explanation. The 911 call is real, and it confirms the boat really did have a mechanical failure that afternoon, which lines up with what the friend said from the start. The coroner's initial exam found no obvious trauma. Horn Island's currents are documented as genuinely dangerous, and the local coroner's office has taken in drowning victims from that stretch of coast before. There's no shelter, no facilities, and people commonly swim out into open water there. An athletic 18-year-old drowning in a place with a real history of drownings is not, on its own, an implausible story. Now look at what keeps that explanation from fully closing the case. An independent forensic pathologist, someone with no stake in either side, looked at Nolan's body and found something on the back of his head he could not explain, and said plainly that he cannot rule out non-accidental factors. A second, uninvolved medical examiner brought in by CNN reviewed that same finding and said it's genuinely 50-50. Could be decomposition, could be blunt force trauma. That's not a family suspicion talking. That's two independent forensic professionals, neither with a personal stake in the outcome, saying the evidence itself won't let them rule anything out yet. And that's really where we land. Honestly, this isn't a case where the facts secretly point toward a hidden villain, and everyone's just too cautious to say it. It's also not a case where the family is chasing ghosts. It's a case where the actual physical evidence is ambiguous enough that trained professionals, independent of both sides, are declining to commit to an answer. When that's true, the responsible position isn't to pick the version that makes a better story. It's to say the case is genuinely open and treat both an accident and something worse as real possibilities until forensic record actually resolves it, which right now, it hasn't. What we can say with confidence is this: the trust breakdown between this family and the local process is real and understandable, built from a string of small, documented inconsistencies, not fabricated online rumors. And the political fight now surrounding the case, governor against advocates, is happening in a completely separate lane from the forensic question and shouldn't be allowed to answer it for us either way. So here's where we actually leave you tonight, because this case still refuses to hand anyone a clean ending. Confirmed. A real mechanical failure on the boat. No confirmed cause or manner of death from either autopsy. An unexplained mark on the back of Nolan's head that two independent forensic professionals won't rule either way on. Real threats now under FBI investigation. A sitting governor publicly blaming the family's own attorney and a national civil rights leader for those threats, without offering evidence tying their words to any specific one. A district attorney asking for patience while confirming the case is still headed to a grand jury. Unconfirmed, still after 3 weeks. Whether that mark on Nolan's skull came from something that happened to him, or from what happens to any body after death, whether Nolan entered the water conscious or not, forced or not, and whether the political noise now surrounding this case is helping anyone get closer to an answer, or just making it louder to hear the actual evidence over. So ask yourself this honestly. When two independent forensic experts, with nothing to gain either way, tell you they genuinely can't rule out foul play, does that change how you personally weigh this case? Or does it take actual proof, not just an open possibility, to move you? And when a case like this gets pulled into a political fight, governors and civil rights leaders trading blame in public, does that pressure ever actually get a grieving family closer to the truth? Or does it just make the wait feel louder without making it any shorter? We still don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. Tell us, honestly and respectfully, where you land after everything we've covered today, because a real family is living through every word of this conversation happening online. And if you want to be here the moment this case actually gets a real answer, not another theory, not another statement, the real one, subscribe to Mystora Crimes, because we'll be covering it the second it arrives.